See the big move. Yeah, both of those got to move. Hello, you're live. Oh my god! Finally,
hit it.
Kind of. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around. This is on my laptop because we had a big problem with the other computer.
It didn't like the camera today.
Yeah, you still look like you're farther back. Are you smaller? Are you 3/4 size today? There we go.
No.
Okay, we shouldn't be looking at ourselves in the video anyway. So.
Is that the camera?
Yeah, it's in the
Well, at least if we look at ourselves, it looks like
it's
we're looking
closer
in the
to
camera.
that. Yeah, it still looks. So hey everyone, we had some technical difficulties. Gary's Guitar Talk. For those of you just tuning in, we talk about guitars, amps, stuff like that. We do this once a week ish, and we just talk about anything you want to talk about, and anything that kind of pops into our minds as well.
I can read who's here.
Yeah,
I can never see that.
That's exactly what we're trying not to do. We're looking into the camera and being professional.
Well, I've never seen it before.
Well, it's over here. You can do that. Sometimes you can drive. You can hold the tablet and talk to people, and then a bunch of the regulars just saying hi. So chime in and say hi if you're regular or not, and then let us know what you want to talk about. Definitely critique our low quality video and audio today, but. Let's see here. Mike's out there.
Hey, Mike.
And you want to be my next salesman? Yeah. So that's obviously a joke that he shares with you.
No, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, what is that from?
It's latex.
So that must be the punchline to something.
Right over my head.
Yeah. So yes, we're late, and yes, we had technical difficulties, and yes, we're on my old Chromebook that I leave in the corner of the store just in case I need to use a computer. Yeah. Anyways, not a good situation to be in. For episode number 99.
99 won't do.
I got 99 episodes.
Right. Need one more.
Seinfeld. It's from Seinfeld. Okay. That's what you do when you move to a country where you don't speak the language. You memorize Seinfeld as you watch it over and over. Right, Mike? Is that what happens?
Hopefully not dubbed.
Is there a market for the Vibro Champ? There's mint with a cover? Oh, yeah.
How many you got?
Champs, yeah. I have 2 myself, yeah.
What, 3?
Maybe. Vibro Champs are super hot right now. The new ones cost $800, and the old ones cost at least that. Sometimes more. And if you get the cover, the good thing about the Champs as well is even the pre-CBS snobs can't say there's anything wrong with a CBS era Vibro Champ.
Yeah,
I mean,
they never changed them.
They never changed the Champ.
70s maybe
until they stopped making them, or the very late 70s. They tried to make like a more powerful one or something like that.
Oh, the Super Champ.
Yeah, the Super Champ.
I had one of those.
Oh yeah, how was it?
Super.
Yeah, okay.
It was like a little Mesa Boogie.
Yeah. It was twice as powerful in the same size, right? That was
It's like 20 watts.
Yeah.
I put an EV speaker in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could crank that thing.
That's kind of cool. And then they did kind of a reissue of the Super Champ. I have no clue why the face is there.
The face?
What I meant. The chat turn. There's a smiley face in his in his comment. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So XD.
Oh, and he didn't put it there.
Yeah, it's the AI. They're taking over.
They put smiley faces in.
That's how they start, and then it's going to get even worse. Just kidding.
Start editing what we say.
Yes, Vibro Champs are having their day right now. Little amps are really having a day, but little amp prices have doubled. Remember when you sold a bunch of those little amps that you had collected over the years?
Oh yes.
All those prices have doubled.
Oh
yeah. So
I still got the 48 Gretsch.
That is the nicest one. Was it? Oh no, you took it home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's at home. That was my favorite one.
It sounds great. It looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it gets to like $6-7 grand, maybe I'll part with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's and Fender has reissued the Champs. They now make it the new Fender Champ has reverb.
That's not right.
That ain't right. Yeah.
Must be a little. Is it digital reverb?
Yeah. They added a little
It'd
bit
be
of
a
digital
pin
reverb.
this big.
Yeah.
Hardly
Yeah, they
make
added
any
digital
noise.
reverb. I'd see, okay, it's a nice little feature. It probably didn't add a lot to the cost, but still sounds kind of wrong when it's the Champ reissue.
Right.
Hey, Gary and Mark, I just bought a new Princeton Reverb Blackface 65. Love it. Do I need to have the bias checked? I'm not changing tubes. So when you said new, you don't mean the reissue. When you say new, you just meant new to you. I'm guessing that's what you meant. If it is indeed the, but anyways, here's bias only if it sounds bad.
Well, there's I don't understand it, but Paul's always using the term fixed bias.
Yeah, so there's amps that have fixed bias and adjustable bias. The adjustable bias, you can actually regulate the voltage with a
like a carburetor.
Yeah, and a fixed bias is not meant to be regulated, and you're just meant to put the right tubes in it. And when your tubes start to die, you just change them. But now fixed bias amps can be biased by putting in extra resistors, changing the circuit, all sorts of terrible things.
Hmm.
So Paul's usually, it's fixed bias. I don't want to mess with it. But as your tubes, grow older, their bias requirements change. I guess this is a good time to talk about that.
Sure.
So, because I rebias my home stereo once a year, and I usually got to jack it up a little bit.
It's a tube.
Yeah. Dynaco ST70 usually needs a little something, and so as the tubes degrade, they need a hotter bias, generally speaking. But if you usually you don't hear oh, my bias is really off, other than you just hear it distorted and kind of not distorting too early, not sounding too good.
I remember. I don't know if Paul's ever done it, but Mark used to occasionally, back in the early 90s, custom bias.
Yeah.
You get the customer here with his guitar.
Yeah.
Set it at the factory setting and then go play. And when it sounds good, tell me. And he'd be tweaking it up and down.
But however, I'll say Paul wouldn't want to do that because Paul's not he likes
obsessive.
Yeah. And if someone were to do that, it should cost $200.
Right.
Hogan's Hideout says the Princeton is a fixed bias. New Princeton has an adjustable bias pot. Okay, so the vintage one versus the new one, I guess that's the. When it comes to, you can do one of two things. You can mess with it or don't mess with it. As long as it sounds good, don't mess with it. Because sometimes Paul fixes the bias on an amp, and someone be like, "What do you do to my amp? There's something going on." It's like, oh, I got to. It's so clean. I got to turn it up so much now. It's like, well, the bias was on. We can crappy up your sound if you want.
Well, my understanding is it's 20% plus or minus. As long as you're in that 20%.
Yeah.
Anything.
With different tubes, we can kind of feel the tubes react to the changing. So once you'll be moving that bias adjustment, looking at the voltage readout, and then it will just you'll be still turning, but it won't be doing anything, and that would be the tubes going come on, man,
not enough or too much.
Yeah, well, Paul will say just this amp, these tubes in here need to be biased, low, because you can just kind of feel the way that they're acting. They're not happy.
Now, the old rule of thumb was if you change your tubes, get your bias done.
Yeah, if it's adjustable.
They all were at that time.
Not the original Princetons, and not no, maybe Fenders.
I never heard the term fixed bias until 20 years ago.
Really?
Maybe a bit longer.
Champ has one tube, yeah. So, what's that have to do with biasing though? Because
Still got to control the voltage going through the tube.
Original Princeton had a resistor soldered in that could be changed. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Right. There's what is the essential difference between $600 acoustic and a $1,500 acoustic? That's a good question.
Probably the difference between a solid top and an all solid guitar.
Yep. Yeah. So
most $1,500 guitars are all solid.
Will be all solid. Yeah.
And then it's materials and workmanship.
Yeah.
So Godin always explained it. One that costs more, better materials, better workmanship.
Someone spends more time
Right.
with it. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's a big jump, but sonically, like, so let's say between the S6 and a fancier Seagull, you're going to get, solid wood steel or something. You're going to get 10% better sounding guitar for twice as much money.
Yeah, on average.
Yeah.
And you've certainly seen S6s. It sounded as good
As
as a
anything.
$2,000 guitar.
So, yeah, every once in a while, yeah, and then also there is something up to choice, and then sometimes it's marketing and branding. The $600 Martin is no good. The $600, the $1,500 Martin is probably good, and they do that on purpose. I really think, You can add a bias pot. Yeah, you can add a bias pot, maybe, but you have to put in the resistor. You'd have to. You need Paul should be here answering that.
I've heard of it being done.
Yeah, I have to, but it's not as much as just like putting a pot in the way.
Slice 2-wire.
There needs to, yeah, there needs to be. That's our student leaving, the last student of the day, gone along again. So, and so we're waving goodbye. That's why we look a little distracted for a second. So. Bias part replaces the resistor. All right. Yeah, let's look that up. Maybe it's because it is. A pot is a resistor,
right?
So maybe it has enough resistance. Because also depends what the pot is, how much resistance it will.
Oh, so a fixed bias amp does not have the pot; it just has a resistor.
It has a resistor that
set at whatever.
Like this is going to put out about this much of a bias voltage.
That's how they are physically different.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's what you like. So Paul refuses to come on this show because he's a shy guy, and so. But I think somehow I'll corner him into talking about this stuff for everyone too.
Maybe we should just do a video of Paul.
Yeah, he just doesn't even like to be, in the camp. We were doing like an Instagram thing one day, and he just actually just kind of ran, doing a little Instagram thing with an amp, just a little short, like, hey, this is what it sounds like when you plug your reverb in backwards or something like that. And he's like, oh, you got a camera? And he just like ran. Does not like to be on camera. All right. Margaret's out there from Florida. Thanks for joining us, Margaret. We're late, so you're not that late. We are. Is it show and tell time? Maybe, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Might be the next thing up. Show and tell time.
This stuff.
Yeah.
Don't tell them what it is.
Oh no, I won't tell them what it is. That would be too fun.
The guessing part. Who can tell us what's in this?
Well, if they see the logo on the case.
Well, that's all right.
Okay. Look at that weird case, folks. What's in there, do you think? Let's have guesses.
It's a machine gun.
Yeah.
Anybody know what could be in this case?
I got stopped by walking through with a Fender case, which is obviously a little wider. I got stopped walking through an airport by a very concerned security guard who thought it was a gun case. It's like, no, it's a guitar case.
No,
it kind of looks like,
man.
so this looks more like a gun case as if there's one rifle or something. But any guesses out there? What's in this case? Jet baritone? Nope. It's pretty skinny. Let's see. What can we show to? Here's my phone. It's 2 phones wide, so it's skinnier than most guitars. Lap steel? Nope. Also another good guess.
Yeah.
Too big for a lap steel.
Could be a long lap steel.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
okay.
Thinking.
I'll give you another hint.
Set it over here and open it up.
Well, a good hint. We took it to a private eye. I was trying to think of something. No, we had to figure this thing out. It came in pieces. It still is pieces.
Well, I mean,
but it's kind of weird and cool.
I knew what it was. It just was in pieces.
Yeah. Check it out.
Now
the Bo
who knows what it is?
See, we took it to a private eye. That guitar don't shine. Yeah, it's the Gretsch Bo Diddley.
Gonna put it back together. Pretty much everything's here. There's a
Yeah.
couple things
So
missing.
it came a little messed up.
Yeah.
Someone thought they would make some changes. I think they wanted to put a trapeze bridge, right?
And a little quick research.
Yeah.
I think originally they had a trapeze tailpiece and a wooden base tunematic,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously this had a stop tailpiece at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And the modern ones, I think, have all that. So somebody maybe was trying to put it back to the old style, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, it didn't get wrecked. There's some cosmetic issues we might be able to deal with. They'd got the parts in it, the electronic parts, but never hooked everything up. And I took it all out because it was just crappy parts and stuff.
Yeah, so this was someone's project guitar. They got halfway through doing and stopped.
Right.
So they were redoing pickups or something, or they were modifying it. They wanted to put a different top on it. So this happens, and this is something to talk about for a second. It happens once or twice a year. Someone has a bunch of stuff because someone passed away, and this was it. And the guy who had this was a violin maker and a guitar fiddler.
Yeah.
A fiddle maker and a guitar fiddler. He liked messing with guitars, but obviously it wasn't his forte.
I went to the Charles Fox's school in Vermont, I think, back in the 70s. And one of the guitars that was brought in was his
student acoustic
guitar,
that beautiful guitar.
There. And a couple of things he fiddled around with, and this one, which was halfway done.
And then we got a Strat that had Japanese parts, but was an American body.
Strat with a Japanese pickguard and electronics on it. Mm-hmm. So he puttered around with them.
Yeah. So another guess was pretty good. Was an unwanted tenor guitar. Yes. Everyone thinks tenor guitar is a good example. A good until you buy them. No, I like the tenor. People say the telly aren't ergonomic. Yeah. It's a unique feature. So Bo Diddley probably made or someone made his original guitar.
As far as I know, he made a Gretsch. I think he went to Gretsch, or they went to him, and he said, "This is what I want." And then there was what was it called? Was it a Thunderbird or something?
Yeah,
it was one that was curved and had bouts and.
Yeah.
I remember Bo was playing the rectangular one, and there's a woman rhythm guitar player. She was playing the fancier one,
mm-hmm.
Jetstar.
Yeah, it was a genius.
Kind of.
Because if you see a square guitar, what do you say? Bo Diddley.
Right.
The guy, that was a bit of a genius.
And for better or worse, it was obviously the inspiration for cigar box guitars.
I guess. Well, that's what I think the cigar box guitar was the inspiration for that one. Because obviously,
I don't know, when did cigar box guitars appear?
Around here, I mean, like in the, whatever.
Not very long ago.
No, but I bet they were made like years ago, like as a traditional folk instrument. Because we all do, what the diddly bow is, that Bo Diddley named himself after, is a homemade kind of guitar. It's a stringed instrument where you...
is it one string?
It is one, yeah.
Yeah.
And you would hammer it to a tree or whatever, and the tree would be your resonant chamber.
It's kind of like the wash tub bass of Guitar World.
Yeah.
Right.
And so so that's what it kind of got me thinking, Bo Diddley named himself after Diddley Bow. So he could have had a homemade guitar at one time, and that's why they called him Bo Diddley.
Right.
Let's don't Google that now, everyone, but Google it later. The headstone has the red guitar engraved in the granite. Oh yeah, so Margaret said the Bo Diddley's gravesite is near. She's in Florida. So.
Oh, he's down there.
So, the Thunderbird had a built-in kickstand. Yes,
the Thunderbird. Right.
Yeah. That makes a whole lot of sense. Just cool, weird, but yeah. So we're gonna fix it up. We're gonna get going. So did he put a like a archtop type bridge on that? Is that what
there was no bridge?
Oh, but the neck says way too set. That's gonna.
Yeah. Well, he put the tailpiece on, but didn't have a bridge.
Okay.
Or it's not in the case, anyways.
He was probably or he stole it to put on another project.
That's another, like a
old project.
Wood-based Tune-o-matic flat, and that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got quite the kickback there.
Yeah. All right, hold on 1 second. Entertain the people.
Okay. There was another cool Gretsch, but apparently it's under clamps right now.
Oh yeah. We had to we have a Gretsch Cat's Eye Synchromatic coming up.
Do you know what the model is?
I do, but it's Gretsch number. It's like number
62,
47.
So it doesn't have a name like the Cavalier.
No, it doesn't have a great name like that because it's Gretsch. But anyway, Synchromatic with a Cat's Eye. Now the Cat's Eye Synchromatic sell for about twice as much as the F-hole Synchromatic.
Pretty unusual. 50s.
Yeah, they stopped. They made a lot less of them, and they look a lot cooler. I guess you're going to force me to bring it out, and I'll bring it out. But I don't want these clamps to slide.
What are you gluing on there?
Just a little bit of binding.
Oh, some of it was still loose.
Just meets the top, a little gap. But you folks want to see something cool?
Very cool.
So this is what they call the Synchromatic, which they've begun using in the modern stuff. Synchromatic, oddly enough, because it has sync in it, so it sounds like a tape head thing, but it was acoustic. The Electromatics were electric. Cat's eye holes, just like the one George Michael blew up in that video. Absolutely beautiful. Sounds great. I got this tension off it because I was doing some gluing. But I used to own one years ago. It didn't sound this good.
So we're having a little run on unusual, kind of rare Gretches.
Yeah. And that other newer Synchromatic in here that's now out of production. What do you think of Fender opening a retail store in Japan?
No, surprised it took them this long.
Yeah. Well, although Fender Japan is it could be a pilot for Fender. Fender Japan is a separate company. It's a partnership company between Fuji and Fender.
Oh, is it?
So it's it's a different entity. Although they might have actually bought them out. Something in their last buyout or something. Someone, but another. I don't want to get into that stuff. Giant firms buying up guitar companies.
Yeah.
They're going to sell American stuff too, with a custom shop. Yeah. So I believe that Fender has a plan to do retail. They'd be foolish not to. Fender, I always joke, is the Apple of the guitar world. It's the one indispensable brand that people really fiercely love. And someone from Fender told me that it's like, shh, I'm telling you folks, because we're all friends here, that Fender is preparing or has been preparing for bankruptcy by Guitar Center, being ripped off for about 50% of the debt that Guitar Center has to them, so $50 million or more. And then he said, we're just going to sell them ourselves. So, because if they lose their biggest retailer overnight, then there'd be all these empty music stores. If they would, it depends on what kind of bankruptcy Guitar Center does when they do it again, whether it's a reorganization or going out of business. But imagine they just disappeared overnight, just like Daddy's did. Come back the next day, the door's locked, all your stuff's inside, you can't touch it. Yeah. And then they cleaned out those locations in weeks, right? And they just loaded up trucks. And so imagine all that real estate available that's already a music store,
right,
that used to sell Fender products.
So they could all turn into Fender stores.
They could just go around the country, and there's two, and they don't need 200 of them because maybe they you get 50 to 100. Yep. And
Gibson will buy a few.
Yeah, right.
Martin will buy a couple.
Maybe a pilot for Fender taking over at Guitar Center. Well, it wouldn't necessarily be a takeover. I think they would just let them fail, let fall, as they say in the lumber industry, and then they will, kind of come in and pick up the pieces. Although I don't know, I mean, Guitar Center is so debt laden, and I think we know the story that at this point their credit is being downgraded again because they can't pay the interest on the debt, so they're not even paying the debt. Their debt is growing because they can't even knock the interest and pay the interest. Right. So the interest is turning into principal, and that's making it grow exponentially more. It's bad. So, but more and more retailers are going like that. As a Fender dealer, I would be like, oh man, that sucks. I doubt they would give up the stores. I mean, the dealers like us, they would probably just want to get in on it a little more themselves, and they'll offer retail.
It's a boogie store in LA.
Yeah. Everyone in Ernie Ball had a store, right?
Yeah, never spread though.
Electro Harmonics had a store in the 80s. It was it closed down. Maybe late 70s, early 80s. It was downtown. It was like right down with all the music stores. It was on like 30th or something.
Yeah, Fender's more of a full line dealer though.
That's the thing. Fender could, because Fender sells
drums. They don't do Rogers.
They
drums
don't.
anymore.
No, I don't think so.
But Rhodes
belongs to someone else as well. But so they have full line of guitars, acoustic, electric. They now make folk family instruments too, banjos and mandolins and amplifiers. They're well known for amplifiers. And then accessories, PAs. They bought Focusrite, which is a digital interface company. They have their own PA line. They can make harmonicas and other musical accessories. It wouldn't be hard for them just to open a music store that was just full of Fender stuff.
Right.
Would it be a good idea? Maybe. Maybe not. I think people have choices. You let me know out there, people. What do you think? Fender has Gretsch, so they have drums. No, Gretsch drums and Gretsch guitars are separate. So the guitar, Gretsch was licensed to Fender, and the drum, Gretsch was licensed to a drum manufacturer whose name escapes me. But because hell, I'd love to get some Gretsch drum accessories and say, not that I mind going down to the Drum Center, which is the best drum store anywhere. A little plug for our Drum Center friends. But Gretsch stuff is unavailable to us, Gretsch drums. We're a Gretsch guitar dealer. But Fender has Jackson. Fender has a couple other what they call specialty brands. Said the PA stuff and all that. So they're capable of doing it. But let me know what you think, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. I think it's hard to say. Probably a good idea. It's the way things are going. Direct people, just there's so little margin in reselling stuff. I just did my taxes, and it's pretty amazing.
Right.
How much I pay for the inventory and how much money I get from selling the inventory. And then, pay all the bills, and then I get to keep the remainder, lights and rent and all that. And it's kind of funny. Not a lot of money.
I think your profit margin is what we used to think of as the rock bottom minimum.
Yeah.
You got to at least get that much.
Yeah. You got to.
Otherwise, you're going out of business.
Yeah, it is. Luckily, we have other facets of the store that keep the thing going, like repairs and service. And so the store itself is doing all right. But when I look at the retail, like what we pay for stuff and then we sell all this stuff.
30% used or so?
Yeah.
Or
I wish there was more.
The markup's up to you, pretty much.
Yeah, on the used stuff, although, yeah, that's also true. And I love trading new guitars for used guitars. That's always fun. I'd rather be half used, half new.
Right.
Yamaha today bought drums. PV has a full line of stuff. PV has gone off the rails, people. I went to their NAMM booth. It was junk. Big room of junk.
They don't make anything in the United States anymore.
Probably not. They might make some like high-end guitars or something in like a little shop. But, I'm gonna guess probably not. But when I say junk, I mean just these tiny little Class D PAs that are gonna catch fire. Um, yeah, I was shocked at how little I liked the PB and what PB had to offer, and very focused on that one, like, because I mean it's their crowd, the rock and roll shredder kind of crowd. That's where they did well with the amplifiers. But Fender, that's the other thing. Fender jazz guys play Fender, rock punkers play Fender. They have country plays Fender. They have a spectrum of an audience. So that's another reason why they could probably pull off a retail operation. Yamaha lacks the amps. Okay, so yeah, he was saying Yamaha could do a full line store as well. Yamaha makes amps. Yamaha owns Marshall now, and they own Ampeg.
Wow.
So the new Ampegs are from Yamaha. This is, I think that's my memory, and I think they bought Marshall too. They bought a couple amp companies. Everyone's, I mean, Gibson was the first company to really, beef up with brands, and then it destroyed them nearly. If you recall that.
Yep.
And so,
and I think they're at it again.
Yeah, oddly enough, they had to sell back. I was talking to Martin's, what's his last name? The founder of Blue, and Blue Microphones.
Oh, yeah.
He sold to Gibson for X number of million. I'm going to guess several. And he bought it back for half as much a couple of years later. It was kind of funny. He now owns the company again, but he made a lot of money selling and then buying back his own company. So, way to go, Gibson. Speaking of way to go, Gibson, there's a lot more people getting just complaining about Gibson lately, don't you think?
It's been kind of nonstop. Every once in a while, there's like a little glimmer. Gee, I saw our new Gibson, and it wasn't too bad.
All right, yeah.
All right. Maybe they're turning it around.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Right. And then that guitar that David had in here 4 times, it was kind of like a fancier version of a studio. It's a studio with a better paint job. Yeah. And the one with you ended up having to take out the printed circuit board.
That one.
That
David. Yeah, a lot of bad ideas.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, and Gibson ain't doing so well. So, all right, getting caught up, and then once again, this is a halfway through kind of thing. Guitar Talking, Gary's Guitars. Sorry about the low res camera on a laptop today because the other computer was not cooperating. And we came in late, so now we're just a little over halfway through. But we thank you for joining us, and thank you for sticking around and having patience. And you have any questions, put them in the comments. It's just over there for you. And in the chat, and then we'll get to them. If you want to add to something that we're talking about, just put it in there. If you want to give us some facts instead of the non-facts that we've been telling you so far, do so. And
hyperbole.
If you questions, I said that. And if you're watching this after the fact, you can also write, and no one ever does this, but just write in the comments, and then we'll go back and check. No one ever does. A couple of times.
Yeah, a couple hours ago, I had nothing to do, so I went on the computer. So let's see if anybody had any comments or suggestions. Really nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. Quite a few views. People are watching it.
Yeah.
Maybe we just say it all, and there's nothing left to say.
Are PV solid body Patriots any good? The PV Patriot isn't any good.
Is that
that was the 80s? Yeah, that Strat-ish. They were a little sleeker than Strats. Yeah. In mid 80s probably, and
so it was their first Strat clone.
Inexpensive USA
made
up
on the T40s,
right?
The 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And joined everybody else.
And we had a Patriot bass come through that was really nice. I like the bass. Yeah. It has one of the things, if you copy a Fender design, you have to change a couple of things, right?
Well,
and so at least for your own sake of saying this is something that's not just a copy, and then also for copyright reasons, you have to make a little change and certainly the shape or something or the size of
headstocks.
Yeah, headstock's usually enough to trigger that. However, Peavey decided to make the nut width super skinny, even skinnier than the jazz bass. So they have like a 1-inch nut width on those Peavey Patriot, the jazz bass copies.
It's got 2 strings.
No, it's got all 4 strings. It's like a violin. It's like playing a violin. Down there, the strings are just right next to each other. I'm exaggerating by saying 1 inch, but it is like shockingly skinny at the nut. Right. But kind of cozy, kind of comfy.
1/8 of an inch makes a huge difference there.
Yeah. Hogan says the T40s are pretty cool. Yep. I got a rare light one at under 9 pounds. Yes, they are solid for sure.
I don't know if they were oak, but we used to always say they were.
Yeah.
They were solid.
And so they got very unpopular. There's a time when you could buy one for a couple $100 anywhere, and now they're popular again.
Yeah.
And the prices are going up, and people are liking them. They did have their place in the world in that time that they were around, you know. I put a 12-inch Celestian Gold in a Princeton 65. It's really fantastic. Yeah. Any premium speaker, can kind of do a nice little upgrade.
You just got in a couple of old greenback 65s.
Oh, yeah.
Going to put those in a single 12.
Yeah, I got one in a single 12 already. I got that out on the floor. I want to try that with that Freeman head. That would probably just cook.
They were the speaker some time ago.
Yeah, so that's the Celestian. Or if anyone out there wants to buy one, we still got one kicking around. From the late 70s, probably. G1265. It's that Celestian. I take it as it's not any good. Oh, she's asking about the Peavey. It's not like if you can get one for $300 or $400, maybe. I think they sold new for that, but it's nothing to chase down. I think your general opinion of them is like, thanks for trying, Peavey, and
Or as the manager at Daddy's used to say, they were a huge Peavey dealer.
Yeah,
they're really good for the money.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. You're right. They're really good.
Was that Lou?
Yeah.
Lou. Yeah.
Yeah. For $179.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's
$299.
That's back when a Fender was $299. That was in the 80s or something. Yeah. I remember a friend of mine bought the first Strat I ever heard costing $600. He bought, I think the lace sensor, and a few other premium Strat featured deluxe Strat or whatever in the early 90s. It was top-ish. Right. And it was $600. I was, oh my God, $600 for a Stratocaster. That's incredible. How would you even pay for that? And now $600 won't get you it will barely get you a Squire. That's it.
Yeah, won't even get you a Mexican Strat.
Thanks for the info, says Margaret. Yeah, just they strike me as not remarkable. Interesting is a word I'd use for them. Like I said, the bass kind was intriguing to me because I was like, I can see the T20 bass? Is that the bass model? Or was it the T20 with the bass?
I don't remember. No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember the T15.
T15, and there's a T60
3/4 size
and a T40.
Hardshell case with the amp built in.
Ooh.
Did you ever see one of those?
No, I have not.
Peavey did do that.
But just for a while. Cool way? Cool kind of amp built in? Or
it was solid state.
Yeah.
But it sounded fine. And it had this little 3/4 size T40. I think it was the T15.
All right, a little bit of respect for Peavey here, folks. I have one of those Peavey PA heads, the 600 watt.
It's going to work for another 100 years.
Yeah, it's just 50 years into its journey. Not 50. It's probably 30 years into its journey, and it's fine. I actually, so I had to go do a show for some reason. Anyways, we're doing this during the pandemic. We're doing the outside music thing, and we're doing this thing at a farm, and I wanted to bring a PA, just leave it there. So leave a drum set there. So every time we set up to play this weekly gig, we wouldn't have to truck everything in.
Right.
So I brought that PV head and just plugged some microphones into it, some speakers out of it, a couple JBL passive, that sounded so good. People were like, oh my God, the vocals sound so good. That's amazing. And so I started using this more and more. the PVPAs sound great compared to QSC and all that stuff. It sounds great. And you're going to think I'm crazy.
I think you're hearing the difference between an old-fashioned mixer, power amp, separate non-powered speakers, 2 or 3 ways, as opposed to a modern powered speaker system.
Yeah. I mean, that is also just in general, like having transformers or just wires. A lot of times when I'm using a system that like an all digital thing, I'm at a club or something doing sound that's all digital. And it's just a an iPad app kind of thing controlling everything. I hear this kind of thing that I know is like there's not enough stuff in the way to make it sound good.
Right.
Sometimes there's got to be some stuff in the way to make the tone, right? And maybe that's what the PV mixer sounds like.
I remember a number of years ago, somebody was raving about their new Mackie system.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I'd ever heard one at the time, so I went to see the band. It's like pretty narrow bandwidth here. Not much going on. Everything sounds too compressed. Give me a couple of 15s, a good size horn.
15s, that you lost me there. Right?
Then it sounds good to me.
12 and a horn's fine with me, but yeah. So props to PV. Their bass amp, I like their Mark series bass amps. I even like the TNT.
Yeah, if you can pick it up.
Well, you can pick one up for $99 just about anywhere. But it's just awkwardly heavy, especially with the Black Widow speaker in it.
The TKO with the Black Widow, 180 pounds or so. No, not that
PV
much.
stuff was always well built, but not always great sounding. That's a good way to put it. That's what he should have told the customers at Daddy's. Right. This is very well built. It just doesn't sound that good. I kind of like the Bandit. I'm going to go on a limb here. I had Bandit. I liked it.
I like the trans tubes, the little ones.
Trans
tube. Mm-hmm. Sounded okay.
Yeah, a little practice amp kind of thing. Yeah.
But there's the highly desirable Rage. It's a Rage.
The Decade, I think. Decade. Yeah. So just go on to eBay and try to buy a PV Decade.
For under $100.
Yeah. It's worth $60. They sell for $600 lately. The dude from the Queens of the Stone Age, what's his name? The guitarist, forgot already, but he mentioned that in an interview, he's like, yeah, that's my sound. I use it on all the records. And so then everyone, because he has this monstrous overdrive. And so, and I can see that. It's a very unique overdrive sound that he made into his sound, and the PV Decade. So that that PV that saturation knob, that's fun. And then you turn it. So I'm gonna just chime in saying I'm okay with PV. I'm gonna go on a limb here, folks. PV's all right by me. Do they do some Tweed amps? Yes, the old PV Classics. They tweeted them for years.
Yeah, those were Tweed.
What do you think of the PV Classic?
They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they made a tube amp, it was fine. They were half the price of a Fender comparable, but
yeah, and they can be bought cheaply still. Remember that 4x? And I've probably told this story on here before, so people might be sick of hearing it, but I love the story. Skip Tilley's brother,
Gary
Tilley, came in, and someone his big old amp. He said, "Yeah, Mikey doesn't want it, and so I just want to get rid of this." And he had a PV Classic, maybe 4x.
Oh, the 410 Basement.
Yeah, 410. Yeah. And that sounded good. That's a good amp. And he imparted upon me the story of why he bought it, which is even better, which is worth buying it. And we resold it here, of course. It was he was like, me and some friends went to see Sly and the Family Stone play, and they had all PV amps behind them. It was the loudest concert I'd ever. And the next day, we all went out and bought PV amps.
Right. Yeah. Bobby Hearn said that too, with the few F words in
Yeah,
there. But
about Sly and the Family Stone.
Yeah, loudest band I ever heard was Sly and the Stone
and the Family Stone. Yeah,
they were loud.
The PV Patriot is $200 at a pawn shop, and then Hogan says, if it works in the next rate, probably worth $200. Yeah, $200 for it could be okay.
The neck's okay. That's the key.
Yeah, and not only is the neck straight. People are always like, in the store, like looking down the neck. Is it well? Necks can need adjustments sometimes, especially in a pawn shop. Can the neck be straightened?
Right.
Does the truss rod function? And is it maxed out yet or not? Because these days you're seeing a lot of maxed out truss rods.
Right? That's true.
Yeah.
10-20% of guitars say just the neck.
You come in, it's
like uh-oh. Well, that's as far as it goes. It's okay, but it's not perfect.
So I had someone come in, knew very little technically about a guitar, but you've been working on his. It's Bob Bennett who's on here sometimes. Mm. You've been working on his 335 for a long time. Mm. He had a left-handed 335 from 1970-ish, 69. So beautiful guitar. And he goes, "Oh, I just need a neck adjustment. I bring this in once in a while to adjust the neck." I'm like, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, every time Gary adjusts the neck, he tightens it." And then over the years, over the last 40, 50 years that you've had this guitar, the neck has kept moving and just kept tightening. But eventually you run out of threads.
Right.
And
they're supposed to stop eventually.
Yeah, they're supposed to settle in at some point or like go back and forth.
My jazz bass, when I got it, was 16. I adjusted the neck at least once a year for about 5 or 6 years. And then it never moved again. It's like, okay, it took 20 years, but it's done.
Yeah.
Never moved.
Yeah, I've had guitars that kind of settle in eventually. And then the solution, if you have a seriously great old guitar, you can have a new truss rod put in. Sometimes there's ways to cut new, Stu Mack has this thing that you can buy to cut more threads in your truss rod,
There's the old nut washer trick.
Yeah, you try throwing a washer in there. But
don't break it.
Yeah. Today's Sly's 80th birthday. Wow. Happy birthday, Sly. Really? Yeah. Oh. Man. No one thought he'd make it this far. Truss rod works, proper relief, and decent frets. That's Hogan's Hideouts. The PV will have decent frets because no one ever played it. That's what, you never see PV with like worn out frets. I think it's because people just don't play them a lot.
I think of a couple of basses that people played a lot.
Yeah.
But I can't honestly say I've known anybody that put a lot of time into a PV guitar.
Yeah. Other than that, maybe a couple people who just...
Everybody I knew owned PVPA stuff.
Yeah. It was cheap and good.
Yeah. CS 400.
Yeah.
Backbone of many rock bands. Or was it the 800? I forget.
All right. What else is going on? Do we have any other?
We should. This is our penultimate.
Oh, this is 99th. Yeah. Well, we went on late, so we still got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not wrapping up yet. Yes, but here's the schedule for those watching and worried. We're taking 2 weeks off.
Next week for sure, because I'll be away. The following week is currently being negotiated.
Maybe not,
I might be in town on Wednesday. I might not.
And so we'll do the 100th. We want to do something fun. If you got any ideas about the fun thing for the 100th, just put them in the comments. And then that's the end of season 1, as I called it. And then we'll just kind of figure out something different to do. Either a different day, a different amount of time, a different format. I don't know. We're still going to be interactive. Let's take a little break from the weekly grind.
We could do a hour's worth of Gordon Lightfoot songs.
Yes, a special hour's worth of the 3 good Gordon Lightfoot songs.
Well, one of them is 20 minutes long.
Yeah,
so that's one song.
The Wreck of the Ella Fitzgerald.
Did you ever see Enrique's version?
Oh yeah, no. Wasn't it like as an encore?
Well, no, they go all the way through it, dirge like.
Oh yeah,
just totally deadpan. They get to the end and they start again.
Yeah, they start again. Yeah, that was the thing. It was. I think you can find one of these. If they didn't like the audience, they come out for the encore. Do the Wreck of the a dirge version of that. They'd stop, and then they do it one more time. That's good times. That's when you really want the audience to leave. I'm not a fan in general. He's talking about the PV stuff again. He's always a compromise to buy. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're all on the same page with the PV stuff. It's all right, and it never made anything terrible other than everything they make now. Like I said, I went into that. I just spent 5 minutes in there. Just passive PA speakers that look like the Amazon quality, and I mean active, active PA speakers.
I think
Weird.
Hartley, is he still alive? I bet when he left the country company.
Yeah, a little of that. I'm sure he was in, the old hillbilly insisting on keeping the traditions kind of thing. And
yeah, he was. I don't know if he was a good guy or not. But
I don't know who owns the company either, because it could be private equity again. We're talking about private equity. There's a private equity that owns Guitar Center. Private equity owns Fender, though they're nice. They're the good kind of private equity. I don't know what that means, but Fender says we're happy. We're happy being. All the major distributors are all getting bought up by Jam.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. So they
were the new guys not that many years ago.
They're run by a Saudi private equity fund or something. Someone with super deep pockets. And every year they buy another music distributor. Do a contest, obviously. Yes, we could do a giveaway or a contest. So what we'll do is we will leave a notification up here when we're doing it. Like I said, it's not next week because Gary's in Florida.
Right.
And then you'll be back, but the availability pending. We'll figure it out.
Family from Germany is going to be here. And
we'll put the little reminder thing out for
who
that.
Knows?
Yeah. All right. So, any other words out there, folks? This, and once again, sorry about the laptop quality here on the video. Not that our video is super high quality,
well,
but at least.
Well, now you got 2 or 3 weeks to figure it out.
Yeah. Why wasn't
probably you'll go over there, turn it on, and it'll work this time.
Yeah. All right. So I guess even though we haven't done the full hour, it might be wrap it up time already. I should have said this way earlier. If you hit the like while you're watching it, and more than 50% of the room does that, it puts it into this other category of recommendable.
Really?
So, yeah. The more people hit like while they're watching it, the more Google thinks it's important video. So let's trick the algorithm.
Can the same person do it week after week?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure about that. Yeah. Okay. So do all the likes and subscribes and all that stuff. Instagram, right? You all know that. Gary's favorite bass player.
And
then we also have, what do you think of that Jim from Victoria B, which is, I guess, British Columbia. First time it's caught the show. Thanks, Jim, for stopping by. We're on our way out, sorry to say, but
let's see if I can narrow it down.
Yeah.
It's either Duck Dunn, James Jamerson, Victor Wooten.
They're all different.
I do like Jocko.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
You got to go with Jamerson, I guess, because he's.
I don't know. Duck Dunn, most influential to me in what I played would be Duck Dunn.
Yeah.
But to listen to, Jamerson is like this bottomless pit of stuff.
Of melody and tone, yeah.
And Victor Wooten is just on another planet.
Yeah, he's great. If you ever see this thing, it's going around social media about or whatever, or it's on YouTube. He's like, there are no wrong notes. And he just demonstrates, like, tell me a note. Okay, here it is. Just okay, and then you do this. Yeah, you're in G. Here's your G. Okay, now you do this, and he just keeps going up a half step, but making it in tune. Like just making it work.
But there's also the whole other side of Wooten. There was an article in Bass Player once, a side column thing that asked bass players, "What's the best bass line of all time?" They asked Victor Wooten. He said, "Do do 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 do." Yeah, the simplest bass line. He said, "Yeah, but take that out of the song." You got nothing.
Yeah. That's the
okay. So he's over here, and he's over here.
Yeah.
But Duck Dunn, he was pretty influential for me. So.
All right. Wooten is an acrobat. Literally, he can hang off the side of a tree. He goes to these. So he has a Maine connection. I've met him in the past because every summer he spent in Maine doing these kind of like survivalist like camp things where where you learn just some hardcore stuff like that. And then they played in Maine a lot. He's obviously a really nice guy, a very incredible musician, and what can be said about that? Greatest living bass player? I don't know.
Is Duck Dunn still alive?
No, he's not.
Yeah.
But
Did I
Paul
stand
McCartney's
all
still
day,
alive.
guys?
Yeah.
Paul never did it for me.
Well, that's your problem.
It is. I have a Paul McCartney problem.
Yeah, you gotta.
Oh. Oh.
Back in the 80s, someone do a backflip while playing bass. Yeah, he just
Leland
jump up and
Sklar.
down.
Leland Sklar.
He's still
alive.
with us, and he's got
pretty
quite a
impressive
resume. Yeah. All right, so
I'm
back
not
to
saying
the
any of the jazz guys. I won't go
no,
there.
yeah, Menges. All right, thank you. Like I said, we'll see you in a couple weeks probably, but keep an eye out on your notifications, and we'll meet back here for episode 100, and that should be it. Thank you, subscribe and like and all that, and we'll see you soon.
Hasta luego.
Say good night, Gary.
Good night.